record mine now from here on in. If you decide to record your chat and post it online, you definitely want student video off. However, I understand some of you may want to go on, do a chat with your kiddos, and then turn the recording on and mute and turn their videos off. That's fine too. Entirely up to you. I also highly recommend you record every chat, and I'll talk about that in a moment too. There is also a way I'll explain that you can do this without an audience. I could have done, in fact, I did this the other day. I went and recorded a chat, and they're working on a webinar for it, a self-paced webinar right now based on all the different chats I've done. I did it without an audience. And so, you can do that piece as well if you want to record yourself and then go ahead and post that video online for your students to watch over and over again. Let me just say that the video piece is very helpful to have something online for your kids, no matter what age level they are. My college students tell me, I'm 40 something and I watch your video 5 times in a row to make sure I get everything that I've got to get. So it's kind of like a neat thing to be able to do to put that up there for students. So that's it right now about basic overview stuff. I'm going to take you through the entire platform. I'm going to start with the Clever login, which is where everything launches for us during this time of shutdown. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'll be sharing a lot of screens throughout the day. And so this first one here is the Clever website. So you all have access to Clever. You should be able to log into Clever. They added this piece here yesterday of giving directions for both teachers and students to log into Clever. And for you guys, it's going to be just your Lawson number at hcps.net, the same way you log into Office 365, EdConnect, things like that. That same login would be here. And I'm going to click sign in. And that's going to take me to my dashboard once I tell it I'm a teacher and not staff. And this is your dashboard for Clever. So when you come on here to Clever, you're going to see you have a favorite section. Now, for some of you, your favorite section might be empty. Mine is not. Last spring, I spent half the year at James teaching 5th grade math science in the mornings and then doing the rest of my job in the afternoons. I added iReady, Khan Academy, Common Lit, Typing Club, all things for my students so I could have easy access to the favorites. I added Zoom this past weekend when it popped up. If it's not here for you yet, that's okay. You just scroll to the bottom of your page, and there you have a section titled More Apps, and you can click on Zoom to launch it from here. You can click on the heart to favorite it, and it will show up back here at the top. Also on this page is our e-learning for school closure piece, which you can see right here. And they changed it again from my last chat, Paul and Alice. It's amazing. Pre-K through learning was over here this morning, and now it's over here. So they've put these pieces on here to help you out and give you ideas and resources to work with your kids. We know that's not going to be the same thing as being in a classroom with them. You can't monitor them the same way. You can't work on them the same way. But we know that this piece here will be helpful to you, and keep coming back here daily because it's going to change daily, and it has. Every day I come in here, even twice a day I come in here, and it looks different. So to get into Zoom, we're just going to click on the Zoom link, and I'm going to take me right to Zoom. Now, if you've already done this once and you have an account, it'll take you right to your Zoom dashboard for you. If you haven't done this before and you click through, you're going to realize it's going to ask you if you want to merge your account with some guy named Troy Suarez. Now, Troy Suarez is not a stalker. He's not out to get you. He's not looking to meet your kids or anything like that. Troy is our supervisor of instructional technology, and he is the one who has set all this up for us. And so merging your account will get you this little green banner up here at the top that says we've lifted the 40-minute time limit for schools affected by the coronavirus. That's why you're merging with him. If you don't merge with him or you already had a Zoom account, well, you just will have the 40-minute time limit, but there's ways to work around that as well. Of note here is the fact that your students do not need a Zoom account. Your parents do not need a Zoom account to participate. You only need a Zoom account to host. And so the same link I sent you guys this morning and last night is the same link that you would send out to your students, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. This page tells me this is my basic account. I only have 100 people. It is a basic account. And again, this is my school district account. And the reason why I'm chatting with you on my Florida Southern account is so I can have more people than the 100 they limit me on. There are 3 things I want to show you on this website. There's lots of stuff to play around with, but there are really 3 key things that you want to be aware of. Number 1 is the meetings tab over here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click on meetings, and you can see I have some meetings set up already coming up on Sunday. I'm going to start a new meeting and schedule it. It's nice to have it scheduled ahead of time because it makes things a whole lot easier when you get ready to go. So I'm going to call this my fake meeting number 4. And you can laugh at me all you want. By the way, we need some good laughter nowadays. So laugh at my fake meeting. Down here in the when, this is the date you want it to happen. So you can click on the calendar like I just did. I'm going to select Sunday the 29th again. I'm going to change my time to 8 o'clock at night. And I'm going to make it for 2 hours. Now, in this piece, the only important one of these 3 items I just changed is the date. The time is only for calendaring purposes. The duration is only for calendaring purposes. I could come on at 7:45 and it would let me in. I could admit you all at 7:45. It would let you in. This is more for a calendar piece to kind of get an idea of where you're going to be. And although it says 2 hours and we're going to be on for about an hour, it doesn't mean at 12 o'clock I get locked out. It'll keep going until I end the meeting. So it's more of a calendaring piece to make sure you don't overlap things, okay? We're all in Eastern time zone, so don't change that, obviously. And this recurring meeting is not important to me because I'm doing this chat today 4 times, and then Paul is doing one at 6 o'clock tonight. So I don't have recurring meetings. They're all different people. But let's say you wanted to use Zoom as an office hour help session for your kids, and you want to do this from 1 to 2 p.m. daily. You could set this up as a recurring meeting, and every day that meeting could be active without sending out a new invitation and reminding kids. You would just send it out and say, all right, boys and girls, I'm going to be on at 1 o'clock every day, Monday through Thursday. And if you need help, come on in, and here's the meeting ID, boom, done. And this same meeting will be there standing for you every single day. You don't have to send out new reminders every day. Okay, that's recurring meeting. Meeting ID, I leave generate automatically. Password, I leave on. But as you notice, if you use the link I send you, you probably didn't have to put the password in. You can disable this feature if you want. It's not that important for students as far as that, because they're not going to share it with their friends who aren't in your class. But I know our numbers are quite large. And for example, Paula is on the same account you guys are on. She has 95 in her class at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock today. If somebody gave this thing to somebody else to come in, she could overload the number, and then somebody who registered wouldn't be able to get in, which is a problem. Second, most important section of this page is right here, ladies and gentlemen, the video piece. By default, participant and host video is off. Now, for your kids to connect with you, I recommend you have your host video on. Have it on, and that way your camera comes on. If for some reason you want to do the example I mentioned earlier, one second, Alice, I'll get you on. If you want to do the example earlier where you want to have your participant video on, then turn it off later, you could do this, and then I'll show you where you can disable it in the chat itself at a later time. If you don't want it on at all, you click off, and then they won't be able to turn the video on no matter what they do. Go ahead, Alice.
No, I didn't need anything.
Oh, that was your pen. You were just waving your pen at me. I got you. All right, cool. So that's the video section. You can, in settings, I'm going to show you in a minute, permanently set this up. But because I'm doing demonstrations, I don't permanently set it up. I want you guys to see it as it would be if you never messed with the settings. Audio, leave this as both. The reason why is, and I know at least one person on the call today, I think, called in with their telephone. They don't have a computer working, internet's out, there's 5 kids in the house, only one can use a computer at a time. Whatever the reason, you can actually call in with your telephone and listen, even though you can't see what we're doing. And then you can also use computer audio. I've also had people working on, some schools have those Lenovo ThinkPads, and they're having issues with the audio with the microphones. So some folks are using the computer for audio and calling in with their telephones so they can hear what's going on. Again, options. We are ultra flexible right now. We want to give kids every chance to learn and support you all in trying to provide that for them. Okay? Down at the bottom, meeting options. This first one, enable join before host. Never, no, don't do it. X, don't go there. What this would allow today, if I had enabled that, is there were about 5 of you in the waiting room when I opened up my meeting. You could have come in without me, had a conversation, and I wouldn't know what was going on. So you don't want to enable before host. Definitely not. I do enable this one, mute participants upon entry. I do that one so that when you guys came in, you automatically already had a muted microphone. Now imagine you're doing it with 18 kids, 20 kids, 24 kids. Might not be as bad, but we're at 100 and something participants right now, 171. So if I didn't mute you all, I'd have a real problem trying to talk over all of you. This is the waiting room feature. There's some debate about whether we use this or not. In my experience, I've never seen where somebody can chat with somebody else in the weight room. But that's entirely up to you to use the weight room. The nice thing about the weight room is if you want to bring like 1 or 2 kids in ahead of time, you can do that, admit them. Like I admitted Paula and Alice before you guys came on board so we can have a conversation before you guys came in. I don't use only authenticated users, not important to me. We'll talk about breakout rooms a little bit later. And last but not least, if you want to make sure you're always recording your meetings and not like me where I forgot to start it and we missed the first 2 minutes of my speech, you can click record here and it will automatically record your video. The record only sees what you see. The record only sees what you see. So right now, it sees the window I'm sharing with you and it's recording my voice at the same time. I'm going to click on save. And that's going to take me to my meeting summary page. The meeting summary page shows me my fake meeting 4, gives me that time again, those calendar invites that I can add to my calendar if I want to, the meeting ID, the password, and then of course the link that you guys clicked on, and I can copy the invitation right here. It brings it up in a window. I can copy meeting invitation, and then I can take this and I can paste it into Edsby. So many of you have been playing with Edsby the last couple of days to see some features you may not have used. If you're elementary, you might have used it only for report cards, and that's it. If you're middle or high school, you might have posted some things, but not a whole lot. So what you can do is you can take this invitation, you can copy it, and you can paste it right in the feed on Edsby and send it out to 1 class, 2 classes, all your classes. You can click on your classes individually. And if your parents have signed up, like I know Paula's have, you can actually email the parents and the students the link. Because I know some of you in the primary grades, the parents might want to come on the first time. Believe it or not, some of my wife's colleagues in middle school, the parents wanted to come on and see what their kids were doing. And so that's an important thing to understand. Down here at the bottom of the invitation, everything where it says dial by your location down is really not that important. You can delete that stuff. What your students really want is this link and the meeting ID and the password, and then the call-in number if they're going to call in. Those are these 2 things right here that are really important. So you can delete that bottom half, just copy the top half, and paste it.
Scott,
yes.
if they did not merge the account initially because it looked freaky with Troy Suarez's name, can they redo it?
I believe so. I'm still trying to get an answer on that one, and I will send it out as soon as I know, but I believe it will prompt you again. I know I didn't merge mine at first, but you can see I still have this. So I'm going to check on that, and I will send a message back out through First Class PDS when I can get into it, and that's normally late at night, by the way, and I will send you guys that information. So great question. Thank you, Paula.
Okay, Janice actually said that she redid it herself.
Oh, fantastic. So you can redo it yourself. Thank you, Janice. Appreciate you participating and letting us know you have been able to do that. You guys understand I spend all day in this room in front of this computer. I have a session about every hour and a half, 2 hours. And luckily today I had 8, 10, 1, and 3. So I get a decent lunch break today to actually get up and walk around my house. Thank you guys. All right, so down here again, a summary of your settings. If you messed up, if you forgot something, you can edit right here, go back in and fix it. You can also start your meeting right here from this page. And when you click on the My Meetings over here, notice it has all my meetings listed. I can start them from here, or I can click on a meeting and I can edit it again if I want to. The second important tab I want you guys to see on this page is the Settings tab over here on the left. Now, I have largely left these alone for me so you can see what they look like by default. Anything you change on this page will change for every meeting you do. Every meeting you do. So for example, if I do this, now every meeting I set up will by default have video on for the host. Same thing here for participants. By default, the host videos, their video is going to be on as well. So I can set these settings up ahead of time if I want to make sure I do the same thing every time. For example, there are some key items down here as I scroll down through my list. Here's that mute participants on entry. You can turn this one on and make sure that they always have muted microphones when they come in. There are other ones down here regarding the chat feature. You can send messages or turn it off. So you can do things like that with the chat and set up things right here. You can see it says allow participants to send private one-to-one messages. You can turn on or off. It's off by default. So by default, they won't be able to do that piece. That's a very important piece. A little bit further down, you see there's a co-host option. You can invite another teacher to co-host with you. We'll talk about what that looks like in a minute. But I do want to come down here to where it says screen sharing. Screen sharing. This is the default setting. So it's on, participants can share, and you can share. Now, the good thing about this is you have power to share over them. The bad thing is, and this is where a couple teachers have had incidents happen already this week, their students have shared inappropriate content. So you can lock all of your meetings by clicking on host right here and clicking save. What this now does is no matter what you do in the settings, when you set up a meeting, unless you change this, they will not be able to share. So if you know your students and you know them better than I do, they may or may not be able to do certain things. And so this will allow them to not share at all. I'm going to put mine back though, because that way for the next class, I can show them again that comes by default this way. Whiteboard, allow them to share a whiteboard. You can turn this feature off so that only you can share the whiteboard, and I'll show you that one in a minute as well. So a lot of features here regarding sharing. Notice when I go to host only and I save it, some of the features might change because of that piece, because obviously if they can't share at all, they can't share at all. There's a feature here on breakout rooms. This is the last feature you want to look at. If breakout rooms is something you remotely want to explore, you must check this box. Otherwise, you won't have the option once you're in a meeting. You don't have to use it, but I'll talk about how that works. It's the last piece we talk about in this session. But if you don't have this enabled, they're not going to be, you don't have to have it anyway. So you might want to turn that one on. All right, back to the top. The last thing I want you guys to see is up here under resources. When you click on resources, you get this download Zoom client. And I get questions all the time, Scott, what's a client? What is that piece? Real quick, if you are using First Class Ideas, our district email, you might log in through the website. You might go to the school district website and log in that way using Chrome or Internet Explorer, Safari. You notice when you log in that way, you don't have all the functions, do you? You can't use PDS that way. You can't access certain content that way. So you may then instead download the client called First Class and open that program up like you do at work. You can download it at home for free as well. And you can then access PDS and other items on that computer. The same thing is true for the Zoom client. You can actually use Zoom in the web browser. It works, but it's not as fully functional as the client. So I highly recommend you download and install the client on your computer if you're going to use it. The second thing I'll tell you is there is a client for iPhone, Android. There is a client for iPad, Android tablets, and you can download that as well. I have done meetings all three ways: my phone, my iPad, my computer. If I'm going to host a meeting, my number one preference is hosting it on a computer. And the reason why is to have all the fully functioned features and true multitasking, because even the best tablets can't truly multitask the way a computer can. So I'm going to leave this window, click on something else, just so you know I'm not in the window with you guys anymore. I'm actually looking at a folder, and I'm still moving. You still see me. I'm not frozen. I did this for the first time on my iPad with a group of students I was teaching at Florida Southern. And the first time I went to share a document, I left the screen, my face got frozen like this. The second time it got frozen like this. And so it does that when you change windows. And so I had to do this after that and then change the window so I had a smile and not some goofy look on my face. You're going to see some of the screenshots I'm going to show you. I caught myself in a goofy look, and it's fine. You know, I don't care. You can laugh at me all you want. If you're having a good time right now laughing at me, hey, I've brightened your day, and that's the important thing. But download the client, use the client. That's a really important feature, is having that piece under resources here and downloading that Zoom client. I am going to leave this window and bring us back together. Right now, you are seeing one of two views in front of you. You are either seeing, number one, me very, very large on your screen and a small image of you, or you're seeing something looking like the Brady Bunch. If that is the case, Kimberly Masson, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry. You are Alice, the housekeeper. Durham S., you are Mrs. Brady. And Courtney, you are Mr. Brady. Everybody else, you're the Brady kids. All right? So that's kind of what my window looks like. And I'm going to show you that setting now through a series of screenshots. So let me get that one up for you guys. And this first one here, you see I caught my poor son and myself in a strange view. This is the speaker view, probably similar to what you might be seeing. These next two images are the gallery view, which again gives you that Brady Bunch image I mentioned before. If you're on a computer or even on an iPad, somewhere in the top of your screen, you'll have a button that says speaker view or gallery view. If you're currently in speaker view and it looks like this, just click on gallery view, it will look like this. In using Zoom now for anywhere between 3 and 4 years, I have found that the gallery view is much easier on the eyes, it's much easier to deal with, and the screen doesn't change all the time to who's talking. So if you actually have microphones open, it'll go keep flashing a new person in front of you. And I did that one time and it got really annoying. Really annoying. All right, so that's speaker view versus gallery view. I'm going to zoom in on this window a little bit so you can see more of my view. So my view looks a little different from yours because I am the host. So some of the features I'm about to show you are also on your computer or your device, but when you're the host, you have all of these features I'm about to go over. I'm first going to take you through all the menus. So these two on the left, mute and stop video, there are menus here, and these only relate to your device, This is where you work on your audio video and your muting and your speakers and all that stuff. This is all for you personally, not the participants. Next, you have the invite button. Let's say I started a meeting and I forgot to invite some people. I didn't send that invitation. I can actually get a link here to send to people and invite them into my chat after it's already started. Next, you have manage participants. This is a window where I can manage everything about you guys. I'm showing that window right here. Notice there were 91 people on this call on Monday, and we have managed participants. The red line means it's turned off. So these people all have their microphone muted. Some have their camera turned off. Some have their camera turned on. By the way, when you do this with students, if you have cameras turned on initially, this is how you turn them off. When you turn a student's camera off, a participant's camera off, they cannot start it unless you allow them to. Notice for me, the host, it does say I'm recording, and it tells me that I am the host. If you had a co-host, it'll label the co-host as well. Back down here at the bottom, the share screen function, we'll spend a lot of time on this one. The chat feature, which you guys are in right now and chatting with Paula and Alice, and thank you both for monitoring that piece. I keep seeing messages pop up. The recording button. So if you are recording like I am in this chat, this is what it looks like while you're recording. If you're not recording, it has a round circle around a dot and it says record, and that's how you would start recording. This is that breakout room button we just talked about on the website. If you don't have it enabled on the website, it won't show up here. Finally, a reaction was kind of like thumbs up emoji, stuff like that. And then I have an end meeting piece. So those are all of my controls that I can use while I'm in a meeting with folks. And notice even up here, it tells me I'm recording and I can start or stop my recording as well. Going into these menus in more detail, this is, I've got some screenshots from Windows and from Mac, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a Mac user. My whole house is Apple. And I happen to like the dark mode that they have on Apple because the backgrounds are much more pleasing to my eyes looking at a screen all day. Notice everything is dark versus this one. This is a Windows background where everything's kind of light. And so I've given you both screenshots in many cases so you can see what both look like. But the menus are pretty similar. Just a few minor changes. So again, this is the audio one for you where you can change your microphone if you're using an external microphone versus the one built in. You can change your speakers, internal versus external speakers. You can add a phone audio and bring your phone involved as opposed to using your computer if you're going to dial in. All that kind of stuff can be done right here. This is your audio setting. You can also test your speakers and microphone, which I highly recommend doing before you go and do your own chat with students. The next one is the video button, and this is the one on my Mac again, so you got that dark mode showing up. And when I click the little up arrow next to it, I only get 3 options. I can use whatever camera I want. Now my iMac only has 1 camera, so I'm stuck with it. You guys may have a phone or an Android tablet or something like that has more than 1 camera. You'd have that option to use more than 1 camera. I can choose a virtual background, I'll show you in a minute, and I can change my video settings. Now here is the Windows version of the same thing we just looked at, and the only difference, guys, is they flip-flop the virtual background with the video settings. That's the only difference. It's the same menu, same options. So I'm going to stop my share now and come back to my Brady Bunch view, and I'm going to go ahead and change my virtual background. and I'm going to pick an image. Let's see. I'm going to go to, oh, this is Loch Lomond in Scotland. Very, very beautiful place. So here I am sitting in front of Loch Lomond in Scotland. Two things of note about virtual backgrounds. First of all, I love it because then I'm not sitting in front of the same view every day of my spare bedroom. The nice thing about this is I can go many places. Now, two things to know about virtual backgrounds. If your computer, you must have the client running to do it. You can't do it on a website. You must have the client running. If your computer, Rebecca, I need to lock that feature out. You can tell I didn't lock that feature out. Rebecca is playing. Thank you very much for showing me that one. I will come back to that later. There you go. You guys can't share anymore. All right. Your computer may or may not be able to handle a virtual background. It may be too old. Like my MacBook Air is too old. It can't handle it. My iMac at least can handle it. You may also need the latest client software. You may not have the latest version of the software. I've been using, like I said, Zoom for years, hadn't updated the software on my MacBook Air, and when I went to try it, it wasn't even there. I had to download it. Second thing, be careful what you're wearing and what you're sitting in front of. So I have seen twice this week already these two images that are very disturbing. This poor lady, her shirt matched the background, and she was a floating head. Okay. Second one was even worse. The lady was very pale, and her background wall was very pale, and I saw nothing but her shirt and her hair. So very, very scary and creepy when you see hair and shirt floating around in the window in front of you. So try this out before you actually go and do it with your students. You notice with my particular shirt, and I don't have any hair, so I don't have to worry about that. But if I turn my glasses sometimes, you can see through them and see the background, and it goes away, and you see my hand disappears from time to time. So just understand that it's not 100% accurate, doesn't work all the time, but it is a neat feature. And this is what it looks like when you go in and actually do the virtual background window. Let me zoom out here a little bit. So this is what it looks like in that window. It shows you what you're currently sitting in front of. You have an option of none. Depending upon how many times you've updated your client, you may have some preloaded images like the Golden Gate Bridge, the earth, the grass, some other images, and then you can add any image you want with this plus symbol. Make sure they are in landscape mode and not portrait mode. I have this beautiful picture. We were at we were at Disney Labor Day weekend. Gosh, Disney's been closed now for a couple weeks. We were there for Labor Day weekend, and I went over one morning very early to Magic Kingdom. We had extra magic hours. And I went in the park, and I stood in front of Cinderella Castle with, like, nobody there. You never see that. And I took this great picture of it. And I went to use it as a virtual background. It's portrait. It turned the castle on its side. So I couldn't have that picture in there in the background doing that. So it's got to be a landscape mode to show that virtual background piece. And then this is what your screen looks like. And you can add images from Google. You can take your own pictures. Like this picture behind me from Loch Lomond is one I took when we were in Scotland in summer of 2018. And so you can use your own pictures and things like that too. All right, moving on now to the Manage Participants tab. This is one you guys don't have right now, but I do as the host. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and you can see this is my Manage Participants tab. And over here on the right, it opens a window for me. This is that window for Manage Participants. Notice I have 20 people waiting, and I have 2 people in the meeting, Barb and myself. Again, Barb's camera is turned off, but her audio is on. So the beautiful thing about the waiting room, if you decide to use it, is I can message you guys in the waiting room like I did this morning and say, hey, we're going to start in a few minutes. I can also admit you all at one time just by clicking one button instead of going admit, admit, admit. It also allowed me to bring Alice and Paula in before you guys and then have everybody else wait. So that's an option for you as well. These next 2 screenshots are that same window, only blown up, so you can see all the options. So this is that same window. I also have a mute all, unmute all button. This is where I can mute and unmute all my participants. I can turn on and off their cameras here. I can turn on and off their microphones here. And then under more, I get these options. Now for our chat today, I muted you guys on entry. I also did not allow you to unmute yourself. So if I had checked this box, you could each unmute yourself right now and interrupt whatever I'm doing. I don't do the chime. I don't need that noise. This one here, though, is something you may want to disable for your students. Allow participants to rename themselves because you know your kiddos. I know some of my kiddos I taught over the years would name themselves Doofus or some other inappropriate name. And so you may want to take that feature away from them. Locking the meeting is where you can lock everybody out from coming in who may or may not already be in. Okay? and then put participants in waiting room on entry. When I uncheck this box, it closes the waiting room and enters everybody. So if you were stuck in the waiting room and I uncheck this box, it brings everybody in at the same time. So that's this feature here, and here it is again on a Windows machine. And again, the only difference is the color and the order of the menus. Okay, so that's that feature. What I'm gonna do now is stop my share and take us back to my Brady Bunch view. And if you are on a computer, you can hover your mouse over your picture and you'll find three dots in the upper right-hand corner. You can click on those three dots and you can go down and rename yourself. Now, Jacqueline Marshall, I'm gonna rename you because I can, and I'm gonna make you into Mrs. Marshall. And there you go, I renamed you. So as the host, you can rename anybody. And so if you don't give your students the option to rename themselves, you can do that renaming for them. If you're not the host, you can only rename yourself. But again, if I take that away from you, you can't do that. The purpose behind this is so you can have appropriate names out there. For example, next week on Tuesday, the teachers I work with at James Elementary School want me to be part of their morning meeting because I go out there once a week and work with the kids. And to help with continuity, I'm going to try and participate when they're doing their lessons. So I will change my name to say Dr. Richmond. That's how the kids know me. Again, same thing for you guys. You can rename yourself at any time. Another neat feature that you can do is the raise hand feature. So let's say that you're doing a question with the kiddos and you want them to raise a virtual hand. So for you guys, if you click on the participants button, either at the bottom or top of your screen, depending upon your device, you'll get this menu and you have an option to raise your virtual hand. In doing so, that will put a virtual hand on my screen, and I can see you've done that. And I see Margaret Benedicts has done that. I'll wait for a few more to go ahead and do that. Miss Marshall, I'm going to lower your hand, unmute you. Hi, Miss Marshall, how are you?
Good, Scott. How are you?
Not bad. Good to see you. And I'll mute you again. And now I see Karen Armstrong. I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Karen, how are you? Oh, I'm sorry, you just took something to eat. Never mind. I'll come back to you. Tara, I'm going to unmute you in your pinkness there. Oh, there you are, Tara. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
All right. So you see a great feature here. Joanne, I'm going to unmute you real. Hi, Joanne. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Good to see you.
Yep, same here. So it's a really neat feature that you can use to get kids to virtual raise their hand. Now, I have 7 screens of people. So I only got the people who are sitting on my screen right now. There's 25 of you. There's a max of pretty much 25 or so per screen, depending on how big your screen is on your computer. But most of you aren't going to have a class as big as I have right now. So it might be something you can use to manage that piece. And again, that's in the participants button for you guys. Mine says manage participants. Yours says participants. You click on that and you click on raise hand, and that's your virtual hand. I'm going to go back to my screenshots again. Here's that screen again. And you can see I was a participant in this screen and I was able to raise my hand. This is what it looks like from my view. Notice the lower hand, when I hover over it, I can lower your hand. And then I have a mute, unmute button that will come up over here, but unless I'm hovering over it, it doesn't show up. So I can unmute you very quickly and let you speak, and then unmute you again. All right, moving on. This is now the chat window. So when I enable the chat feature, this is the basic chat window. And this is when Barb and I were on our call on Monday morning and no one was with us. This is what it kind of looks like. When I zoom in more on the chat window, in this example, you can see I was privately messaging with Sam Weiss. My default settings right now are set up that you can chat with everyone publicly. That also means you can chat with the host. This is a hierarchical menu. So when I click no one, that means you guys can chat with no one. When I click host only, it means you can only chat with me privately. When I click everyone publicly, that's everyone publicly and me privately. So if you sent me private messages, I haven't seen them because I'm not watching the chat. You got to send it to everyone so Paula and Alice can respond to your questions. So that's host only, everyone publicly. And then this last one is a no-no, everyone publicly and privately. This is where your students could potentially private message each other. I showed you this feature on the website, how to disable it ahead of time, and you don't know what they're saying because you can't record that. Remember, my camera, when I'm recording, only sees what's in here. My chat feature that is also going to save itself automatically only sees what's in there and not private messages from, say, Tara to Joanne or Karen to John. It doesn't see that stuff. So you definitely want to make sure this is done when you go in there. And by the way, if you go in the meeting before your participants are there, you can change this feature ahead of time. Here is that same window, ladies and gentlemen, in Windows. So I wanted to show you that same feature again. And here you go. This is that same piece. Again, I have it set to everyone publicly. And that way I don't have to worry about private messaging in the background. So that is the chat feature. The next one is the share feature, the share screen feature. And you should have a green button either at the bottom or top of your page that says share screen on it. And notice this is my Windows example. I can share a screen, my entire screen. I can share something called a virtual whiteboard, which we'll talk about in a minute. I could share a connected device, such as my iPad, iPhone, or an Elmo, or things like that. I can share a window I have open, such as Google Chrome, and I can work on something with the kids together. I can also share other items. Here's my Mac version. So any document I have open, I can share. Again, remember, I work off a Mac, so that's why the Windows version had almost nothing on it, and the Mac version has a ton of information on it. I can share my desktop, a Finder window, a Messages tab, a Word document, a PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheet. Anything I want to share, I can share. Two things about sharing. Number one, have it ready ahead of time. Number two, have it opened. So one of the neat things about this is I've been taking screenshots every time I do a chat and I miss something. Well, I was opening those up individually. So I put them all in one document. That's how I'm scrolling now. And every time I do one of these webinars, I open up this document. I just scroll through all my screenshots in order. And that way I don't miss anything with you guys. Now, again, this is a whiteboard, not a blackboard, even though mine looks black. Remember, dark mode. But here it is again on the Windows side, and it looks like a whiteboard here. And we're going to go to that feature next to share with you guys. But I wanted you to see this sharing feature. Before you share, remember I showed you on the website how you can disable sharing with participants ahead of time. That setting also exists in meetings. So when I saw that one person share earlier, because this is my Florida Southern account, I hadn't changed that setting. I can come down here and notice I have an up arrow menu too, and I have several options. By default, one participant can share at a time, and you as the host can always override them. That's how when that person shared, I was able to stop it right away. So you as the host can always stop their sharing. They cannot interrupt you. When I click on advanced sharing options, I get this window here. And notice that same features here we just saw, but this is the one I changed, who can share, and I made it only host. This means that your participants cannot share stuff. When I mentioned the 2 incidents already of students sharing inappropriate content, this is how they did it. They did it because share was turned on for them, and you can actually turn this off or even turn it back on in the meeting. I recommend, no matter who your students are, you know them better than I do, you turn this feature off in the website ahead of time. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. We're going to move on to the virtual whiteboard. When we get to the virtual whiteboard, you're going to see at the top of your page, mine says viewing Paula Richmond screen. Yours will say viewing Scott Richmond screen. And next to it, you'll see a button that says view options. When you click on view options, you get a lot of settings. Now, the one thing is you can annotate. And I'm going to let you guys do that on the whiteboard in a moment. When you click on annotate, you will get a series of floating menus, and you will be able to write on my whiteboard with me. And so look, I can type information on my whiteboard. I can write answers on my whiteboard. I can put stamps and stickers on my whiteboard. And some of you are going to figure out real quick that you can do the same. So here we go. I'll let you play for 1 second. I take a quick drink. Oop, I hit the wrong button. I closed the whiteboard. Did I lose everything? Nope. As long as I'm still on the same chat, it's still there where I left it. So that's a really neat feature if you close it and come back to it later. I do have the ability to save the whiteboard. I can save what's on it if I want to use it for the next class or post it on Edsby and say this is what we were working on today. Here's the problems we did, that kind of stuff. I can also clear everything you guys have done on there. So I have power over that piece. You can clear your own stuff, but I can clear anybody's stuff. The only bad thing about the whiteboard is I can't tell who is posting unless, like Janice Estes did, she points the arrow, or now Gwen Kyle has done that too. Unless you use that arrow feature, I don't know who's posting what. But while you're still playing, I see several uses for this. My elementary colleagues, I was in a 5th grade classroom with my colleague over at James, and we were talking about writing an opinion piece. That test was coming up. I'm sure you guys are all depressed now that it's canceled, right? Show me your depressed faces. Come on, show me your depressed faces. But you can still practice with them. Imagine putting that opinion article up here as a PDF and saying, okay, boys and girls, I'm going to text mark the first one. I'm going to underline my evidence. I'm going to put a check plus next to things that are for, a check minus next to things that are against. And now, Janice, you do the second paragraph. Jill, you do the third paragraph. Susan, you do the fourth paragraph. And I can have students work on a document with me. Same thing in math. I can put a piece up there of a PDF of math problems, and I can write names next to them of who's working on what problem. I can do this in a reading sample in a science class, a social studies class, a reading class, and I can have kids share with me and annotate with me at any time, and I can always save that feature. The beautiful thing is it's not messing up the document. You're not actually writing on the document. You're just writing on a virtual whiteboard, basically, that you can then save and put back later. So I'm going to close the virtual whiteboard for a minute, and I'm going to turn back on the sharing option, and I'm going to give you a chance to share, just so you can see that right now anybody can share. So whoever gets there first. Oh, there we go. So, yep, we got your window there, and notice I can annotate your window, but it's not really there. When you're done, you go out of your screen. Go ahead and unshare for us. Thank you. Somebody else? Thank you, Galaxy Note 10 Plus. They didn't rename themselves. Oh, we got lettuce. Wow, $1.47. Okay, we're going shopping. All right, unmute for us if you would. I'm sorry, unshare. Anybody else want to try real quick? All right, Elena, thank you. Yep, yep, you got that e-learning document. Yeah, I'm using a lot of that in my notes. Yep, I'm with you on that piece. All right, and notice I can stop anybody from sharing at any time and bring us back. So I have that full control. I got asked this question in a previous chat this morning. Scott, I want to help a student with iReady. I want to let them share the screen with me. Yes, you can do that, but just be careful that you don't have too many students on who are going to share and put on inappropriate content. You may want to share your window and show them things the other way around. That's entirely up to you. All right, I'm going to go back to my sharing document so we can go through some other features real quick. And the last feature I want to share with you guys is the breakout room. Now, a few things on breakout rooms. Number one, this program will do it either automatically or manually. Now, because there's 172 of you, there is no way I'm doing this manually. I'm going to do it automatically. I see this feature to be useful for you guys in one of two ways. Number one, you are an ESE co-facilitator, and you and your teacher are working together. You have 35 students. You want to be in one chat together for most of the lesson, and then the co-facilitator is going to take the 5 students who need the most help and go in a private chat room, and you're going to keep the rest. You can do that through this manual feature. Now, I'm not going to show you what it looks like on my end because there's 172 names. Oh, I didn't turn off annotate. Thank you so much for annotating in the background. Yes, you can disable that feature as well. So you can do this piece manually or automatically. Notice it's going to separate my folks into 10 groups of 9, and I can create my breakout rooms. So I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms just a moment. When I do, 2 things are going to happen for you. Number one, you're going to instantly gain the ability to unmute your microphone, and you can then talk and have a conversation. Number 2, you will be able to share documents with each other again openly in that chat room. So I'm going to create that now, have a quick discussion. I'll pop in and out of a couple of the rooms, and then I'll bring you guys back. Here you go. Hello, breakout room 1.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, guys. So see, I can pop in and out of any room I want.
Nice.
Adios.
Headset. Do you like using that?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, who are you talking to?
Hi, guys.
Also, anybody, any of you. Hi.
Yeah,
Hi,
I
guys.
love it.
I had about 35 of my kids.
Hello,
show
breakout
up.
room 5.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, I'm leaving now.
Wow.
I'll be back.
schedule your meetings and all that. I think it was. in
Hello,
that.
breakout room. Hi, Debbie Mills.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to
Can
see
you tell us
you.
again how to get to the breakout room as a host?
So I'm going to show you that setting when we get back.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
I will show you when we get back. I'm going to go one more place. I'm bringing you all back. Hello, breakout room 6.
Hello.
Oh, somebody's sharing their screen. Fantastic. I'm going to bring you guys back now, though. So I'll bring you guys back in about 15. Muted. Hang on. Hi, guys. Welcome back. I muted myself. I'm sorry about that. I brought you guys back, and this is that same window I had before. Now, this is the automatic setting, and this puts you guys into groups automatically. If I do the manual setting, I will get a list like this one. It's really big. Where I can assign you guys manually to a room. I can also jump into and out of a room. I can join any room I want. I can close them all at one time. Regarding the breakout rooms, understand that if you are not in the room, you cannot monitor what's going on. So hence, I might recommend against this unless you have a multiple adults working with you that can help monitor those chat rooms in between what's going on with you guys. So again, the co-teacher example I mentioned earlier was a great one. I know on Tuesday we're going to do a morning meeting with all the 45 kids they have, and we're going to each take a group in a room and have a conversation with them one-on-one in smaller groups. So that's the breakout room feature. And when you guys are on the main window, notice I have breakout rooms right here. It's one of my options. Again, if you don't enable this feature on the website first, this button will not be here. You have to enable it on the website first under settings, and then this button will appear. You don't have to use it, but you can. It's kind of like that. You know, you go to the grocery store without your credit card or your ATM card or money, you can't buy anything. But if you go with your credit card and don't buy anything, you're still okay. So that's this kind of thing about enabling it ahead of time. All right. The last thing I want to show you is the whole recording piece. So like I said, I've been recording this Zoom chat, and I will post it to YouTube and send you guys a link. But when you are done with your chat and you end your chat, Zoom will process that video and save it on your computer in Documents, a folder called Zoom. And notice it does it by date and time for me. So this is the one I did yesterday, I think at 1 p.m. And so it saves you a video file, it saves you an audio file, it saves the chat. You can rename the video file, so I'm renaming all mine to what the date and time were. And it saves as an MP4 file. And you're like, Scott, I have no idea what MP4 means. Yep, that may be the case. It's all right. MP4 just means it's a universal file. It's something you can upload to Edsby, you can upload to YouTube and use a link for the kids. And it's a really, really neat feature. So you can actually post that link in the feed on Edsby or email it to your parents. You can post the video in the feed on Edsby. You can do that as well. The files aren't ridiculously huge. They're only about 500 megabytes each when I've finished up my hour-long chats. So that's an option for you as well as far as posting your video and recording it. Again, you have a record button down at the bottom, and I've disabled student recording. So yes, Paula, you can disable student recording to make sure they're not recording you. I am going to stop my record now so I can give you some lasting advice